Brilliant run by Hazard! Oh, that is absolutely phenomenal! Wow! Best player in the Premier League.
Welcome back to Take Game. Today we have a special news segment that we'd like to start every month called Unsung Heroes. Today we welcome technical analyst representing Newcastle United, Rory Harrison.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
We're here to discuss a very important matter that we never thought would be seeing the light of day anytime soon. Mm-hmm. And we thank you so much, obviously, for coming in and doing this with us.
Well, thanks for having me.
Huge appreciation.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, absolutely. Pleasure to be here.
And it's regarding an ownership switch, potentially.
Yeah, I couldn't ask for a better topic of conversation, to be honest.
And we knew we had to do a Newcastle video right away. And it's been in the talks for so long amongst fans that they would like to see a new owner because Mike Ashley, the current owner of Newcastle United, has been accused of allegations within money laundering and pretty much not showing so much investment in the club. Yeah. And whether there is truly passion
He's,
for him.
You won't see many less liked people in the world than Mike Ashley is with Newcastle fans. He's quite the villain.
Yeah.
Some say unfairly, but most people, there's many examples of why he's not been the best owner, and it's a game where there's sadly a lot of bad owners that don't have the best interests of the fans and the club in mind. But Mike Ashley is definitely one of those people who hasn't given Newcastle their full potential. Definitely.
And I definitely agree that he is one of the major reasons why Newcastle have been held back in terms of overall, like you said, potential in their performance of them, where they deserve to be historically, is actually traditionally a top six. If you look at the all-time points table, Newcastle are rightfully a top six originally.
Yeah. And you go back to the times in the mid '90s, mid to late '90s, where we were actually title challenging. And then after that, you had us in the Champions League in the early 2000s, and then Mike Ashley comes along, basically, I think in 2006 or 7, and been downhill since then. We've had a couple times in the Championship, so you go from the Champions League to the Championship, and I don't think it's hard to figure out why fans are unhappy.
No, absolutely. I know sometimes it can be healthy for clubs to go through such a slump because they kind of need a revitalization.
Sure, if you get that revitalization,
yeah.
then it's been a healthy healing process. But it's been 10 years now, 11 years, and
still nothing. Yeah,
there's been quite a few false dawns. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. No, I absolutely agree, and I know that Rafa Benitez staying in Newcastle has been contingent on whether he has the money to even pretty much do what he wants to do with the team, because he's more than just a manager. He's a coach. Yeah. He's a multiple personality behind one helm, and I think he was contemplating even leaving the summer before this topic even arose, because he didn't have the money to pretty much execute what he wanted to do, because he does have a good system tactically. I think Newcastle are the finest team on the counterattack in EPL.
Wow.
They are a really good counterattacking team.
I don't know if our Chelsea associates would have something to say about that. Maybe even our Liverpool
Well, fans. Look how they did against City and Liverpool.
Yeah.
Even though it was a 3-2 win for us, you guys gave it hard to us at St. James.
BS scoreline that, by the way. But but yeah, against City, perfect example.
Yeah.
Right?
Sheikh Khalid bin Said.
Oh. I didn't know about his Arab roots, but
I tried my best.
Chris with the flawless pronunciation there.
He's the cousin of the Man City owner, and he actually placed a bid for Liverpool last year, failed to do so, didn't meet the criteria under EPL standards to take ownership.
That's right.
And he has to repeat the process once again, in which this raises some skepticism between some Newcastle fans. Some guys are already on their high horse, but then there's some fans like you who I want to ask, what raises the skepticism the most in this area of concern of
whether he's going to actually be able to buy us?
Yeah, and what else should we be considering?
Well, okay, so firstly, the skepticism about, is this takeover the real deal, or is it one of the main reasons for skepticism is Mike Ashley. The club has been officially and unofficially on sale for a number of years now. There have been buyers that have came in and failed at different hurdles in the takeover process. And sort of it's kind of a case with Newcastle fans. Everyone I've seen has been, when it first broke to even now, I'm saying, we've been here before, we're not going to fall for this crap again. It's just too good to be true. Mike Ashley's going to find a way to mess it up. Funny story about that. Before the Sheikh Mansour and his guys, who as you guys rightly say is a cousin of our Sheikh Khalid, is our Sheikh Khalid, before he bought Man City, he was in contact with Mike Ashley. There was a meeting to talk about a potential purchase of Newcastle. And there's different reports, but from what I can gather, Mike Ashley was quite offensive. Might have even brought up some cultural stereotypical stuff. And in the end, they didn't even have their meeting properly. It just went downhill, and they went out to buy. But it's been a theme of his to say, we did everything we could, and just couldn't get it over the line. And then you find out, years later, that it was your fault it didn't get over the line. But that's besides the point now. Just to answer your question, where does this skepticism come from? It comes from partially Mike Ashley and his failures to sell the club in the past. And it also comes from, as you mentioned, last year's attempted purchase of Liverpool by the same Sheikh Khalid bin Zayed. What I'll say about that as well is there is kind of inconsistent reports. Some are saying that he failed at the initial stage of proof of income, proof of funds.
Yeah, he didn't present.
And he didn't present even the 25 million that John Henry and the Fenway Sports Group of
49%. Right?
Yeah. But then I also read that John Henry, he didn't want to sell the club. He was open to minority stakeholders of 49%, right? Yeah. Which, if you're looking to buy a club, and there was a lot of talk about a 2 billion figure. If you're looking to buy a club, which you are, if there's a 2 billion figure, you're not asking for 49%. You're asking for ownership.
Absolutely.
So the reason for that deal, why it fell apart, it could be both. It could be either or. And also 2 billion, which was the figure for Liverpool, is not the 350 million, which is being talked about for Newcastle. Yeah. So. How much of that failure last year, how much it relates to Newcastle? Absolutely. This year, it's not clear, right?
And you know what? The more you got into it previously when we were talking about this, the more I'm actually starting to agree with you more, because the whole reason why I immediately wanted to make this video is because I felt that too many Newcastle fans were thinking it's gonna happen, it's there. There was really reliable media sources posting hey, they're in the talks, this, that. Right. But there's nothing concrete, and people need to be reminded. How many times has this failed in the past that Mike Ashley has been a letdown? And honestly, I think he has deliberately disrupted relations between some potential buyers so that he can maintain being at the helm to continue.
When this news broke out, and initially, no, just wait and see. But you just can't help yourself as a football fan. You just get so excited. You want something for so long, and it might still be happening. So we all took it almost at face value. Some people took it at face value. And then, yesterday, then it starts coming out that the initial reports hadn't even gotten the right Khalid bin Zayed, the right Sheikh. There's two. So there's one who's the half brother and basically heir to the throne of United Arab Emirates. Yeah. Sheikh Khalid bin Zayed. And he'll be one of the top 3 richest guys in the country, and he's half brother of Sheikh Mansour of Man City. There's another Sheikh Khalid bin Zayed who is a distant relative, let's say cousin. And so his claim to the royal family is a lot more dubious. Yeah. But he's also still the chair of a oil and construction and real estate kind of conglomerate. So there's still a lot of money there, we're assuming. Just not that
specific person.
That kind of money as a crown prince.
Interview is that we want to think about the pros and cons. Okay, so let's say this ownership hypothetically does go through. Right. Remember, we have to go through negotiations with the stakeholders and the and the investors and all this, right?
Like
and then actually get approved by the EPL of whether he's ineligible.
Premier League does their own fit and proper persons test for ownership.
Right. So right after the stakeholders, investors, they negotiate it, and it's there, and he gets approved. Let's say. How good is that for the club now? Now I know the money will be there, like you say.
So that's where it depends on sort of your moral standpoint, and just where we are. It speaks to where we are all as football fans, and where's modern football actually. Firstly, this allegations that all this criticism you leveled at City, now Newcastle are going to go buy the league. How do you feel that? No, because of financial fair play, the landscape's actually changed a lot since even City days, let alone Chelsea days. You can't just go, quote unquote, buy the league like you could. I don't think that's going to be able to happen in the same way even like City or a PSG or Chelsea or any of these mega rich clubs, because there's rules in place now to stop that happening. I think it will increase our fortunes financially big time because of how cheap Mike Ashley was. We just need anyone to come in and say, okay,
Absolutely.
50 million to have. But in terms of a moral standpoint, like, how do you feel about oil states with human rights records?
It's a good point to make.
Heinous human rights records, slavery, and all these sketchy stuff. I think as any football fan, like, these billionaires don't make their money like by being nice, and
they look at this as a business opportunity, but it's kind of an industry where you have to love and be passionate about the sport and not look about gains and profits.
You kind of have to put that
aside,
that like sort of shady backstory to one side.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'd love for a more benevolent and less shady person to buy our club, but really, it's almost a case of beggars can't be choosers, and there's very few mega rich clubs like the Barcelonas and Real Madrids and Manchester Cities and PSGs that can say, we don't have any shadiness in our ownership. Of course, it's just a fact of modern life and modern football, I think.
Well, in this case, if you compare the market values of the top 6 sides and Newcastle, there's quite a large margin. So all financial fair play aside, if you amounted to the difference of, because especially now that's an inflated market these days, right?
Exactly.
And you guys were paying as much on your squad as much as these top 6 sides, for sure you'd be up there. Because you have a world-class manager given an MLS star a chance.
Exactly.
They would have been like, no, he can't fit the pace.
Well, I think it's indicative of the fact that Rafa, look what he did with peanuts. Imagine what he could do with 80 million.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're talking.
He makes guys like Perez, Lascelles, Lejeune, Clark all they just look good under him.
Exactly. So if you can do that with those players who might not be the
top
A class,
but they work great defensively.
Yeah. So I'm excited. I'm really excited.
Yeah.
I'm really excited if this deal goes through. I expect us to be in the Champions League, honestly, within 2 to 3 years. I know that sounds ridiculous. A lot of people will hear this, and your millions of followers will be laughing at that comment. But I'm serious. I think Rafa is that X factor. With money, who knows what could happen. And, the takeovers have fallen apart with Newcastle. I think if this takeover falls apart, I think Mike Ashley has really passed the point of no return. I think we'll see civil unrest. I really do. I think we're going to see mass boycotts next season. Representatives that have been in touch with the Newcastle and English media, they say we want to get this deal done as soon as possible so that we can start the transfer window at the helm. So that's very promising.
That's a very good plan. I 100% agree with that. I think that's good business, and I think that's healthy for the club moving forward.
Yeah, and then they've also said, which is also very good news, promising, is that we want Rafa. He's very much part of our plan for the future of Newcastle.
Good.
If this deal goes through, so.
Last question in conclusion.
Okay.
Let's give a likelihood, probability, percentage out of 100
I'm glad
that this ownership deal will actually go through.
So
after all this
number has fluctuated. Sunday night, I was at a solid 90%. I almost ordered an Mbappe jersey. I'll tell you right now. They were out of Messi, so I ordered an Mbappe. But then yesterday it dropped down. It dropped down to like a 40% because of journalistic inconsistencies and sort of realisticness and pessimism of being a Newcastle fan. Today, Honestly, I'm at a solid 75%. If I had to tell you right now, I think we'll have big news either way by Friday. By the end of next week, we'll know. By the end of next week, we'll know if this deal went through or not. And I gotta say 75. I'm confident because just basically the group, the Binside group, has been making statements to the media. I know that's not concrete or anything, but I'm confident it's a 75%. Mike Ashley will be gone by next week.
Mine is 70%. Before I ask you that, 70%.
At 5%.
If we're on the majority side of the spectrum. Yeah, I know. But if we're on the majority side of the spectrum, it's safe to say we're leaning on a yes verdict despite that the concerns we arose with. Listen, leave a comment in the section below about what you think if whether this ownership will actually go through or Mike Ashley will maintain being a next time.
And also what you think it means for the future of the Premier League, for the future of Newcastle. And, the moral issues about it, if you have any comments about that as well. Yeah,
please share it all down below. If you like this video, please hit that like button and subscribe. But until next time, this was Unsung Heroes. Thank you, Rory, for coming in today. And we'll be sure to have more Newcastle coverage when it's going to be relevant in soon time.
That's it. Cheers.